So today I want to talk to you about rest. Rest. The Lord's been speaking to us about it for a few months, and we've taught this in the past, but it just came up and it came to our attention that it was timely for this. So I want to talk to you about rest today and what it means to rest, and how we can do that in our lives and practice it. Because a lot of times, I don't know about you, but I've had times where there was too much work and I became exhausted. And when you're exhausted, you become vulnerable. Not good vulnerable, bad vulnerable, right? You become vulnerable, you become weak, you become vulnerable to physical sickness, okay, in your body. Because remember, we're a body, we have a soul. We're a spirit, we have a soul, and we live in a body, okay? So when we're exhausted, all those three, our three-part nature becomes vulnerable to attack. In our body, right, through sickness. We've seen people that are exhausted and end up like with malnutrition and in the hospital and having to, because they broke down, right? And then we have also, we could be vulnerable in our mind and our thoughts and our emotions, right? When somebody is exhausted, I could tell you, like, just a small example. My kids, we know when they're tired because they cry about everything, right? When they're just so tired, they can't handle it. So anything makes them cry and break down. And it's like, all right, it's time to go to bed. No, why? I'm not tired, right? And so you're like, okay, yeah, you just confirmed my suspicion, right? Right? But it happens to adults. It happens to adults. When an adult is exhausted, becomes very emotional and very sensitive, and like the smallest, tiniest little thing could just like set you off, in a rage or in a fit or an emotional or like, right? That doesn't happen to you guys? Okay, then I guess I just threw myself under the bus, right? But it happens to us, right? When we're exhausted, we're vulnerable to, like, we're not ourselves many times. And what happens is, like, even we've realized, like, what, I just need to go to bed. I just need to sleep. And the next morning you wake up and what seems so big and it seems so stressful and it seems so horrible, it's like, wow, that really isn't that big of a deal. I'm actually okay. Does that happen to anybody? Right? Okay. So... And then it also happens, we become vulnerable spiritually, because if if the devil's always trying to steal, kill, and destroy, right? So he comes with lies, and he comes with discouragement, and he comes and twists the truth and perverts things around you, that you may start believing him, right? So when you're exhausted, let me tell you, you're not as sharp. You're not as sharp as you should be to recognize and resist the devil, right? And to be like, nope, that's a lie. Like, you're exhausted. So it's like, you're tired and he starts feeding you, right? So spiritually, you're also vulnerable to, and you're more susceptible to believe the devil, when he's trying to attack us. So we need to know what God intended for us so that we can live the lifestyle that he intended for us. So in this case, we're talking about rest and what all that rest has to do in our lives, okay? So I want to read something to you that I found here. I thought it was very accurate to how we feel so many times and the stuff that we struggle with. It says, the more our life speeds up, the more we feel weary, overwhelmed, and lost. Despite our good hearts and equally good intentions, our life and work rarely feel light, pleasant, or healing. Instead, as it all piles endlessly upon itself, the whole experience of being alive begins to melt into one enormous obligation. It becomes the standard greeting everywhere. I'm so busy. We say this to one another with no small degree of pride, as if our exhaustion were a trophy, to be unavailable to our friends and family, to be unable to find time for the sunset, or even to know that the sun has set at all. To whiz through our obligations without time for a single mindful breath. This has become the model of a successful life. How crazy, right? Has that been right or the case for anybody here, right? For me, it has. I remember times when, I had 2-3 jobs and, we're just trying to sustain a $3,500 a month mortgage payment with all these jobs and things, and my kids are small and they're little, and I'm running around town, and I leave before they wake up, and I come home when they're already gone to sleep, and I'm exhausted, and I wake up the next day and I do the same thing, and every day is like that, and it's like Chronos is just passing by without one single Kairos moment, right? And it's like, what is going on, right? And it has to come to the point when you realize this is not God's will for me. Like this is not worth living like this, right? So instead, like in our situation, we just decided we're going to downsize, and we're going to have time and make time, because the Bible says that we should enjoy the fruit of our labor. Right? And I'm like, I'm not enjoying. I'm dying. Right? This is horrible. So we need to learn how to rest. Let's go to Genesis chapter 2 and verse 2 and 3. Okay? So we're going to read how it all started and how we can take rest, because you don't want to become vulnerable spiritually, mentally, or physically to the enemy. That's how he gets in. And not in today's world, like I was reading a moment ago, that's become the norm. I'm busy, I'm exhausted, I'm tired. Yeah, I'm successful. That is not success. It says on the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. Okay? I want to point out two very interesting things to me. First of all, God doesn't need rest. I think we can agree that God does not need rest. He doesn't get tired. Right? God does not need rest. He's God. So why was he resting? I want to propose to you, he was setting an example for us. Right? Just like Jesus' lifestyle and Jesus' life is an example for us. Right? You see, Jesus didn't come to show us what God could do. Jesus came to show us with his life what a person filled with the Holy Spirit could do. Right? God could do a whole lot more than Jesus did. But Jesus said, these things and greater you can do. He came to show us what you and I could do filled with the Holy Spirit, walking in abundant life. Okay. Well. So, thanks, babe. So God rested because he was setting an example for us of how he wanted us to live our life, right? How he designed us, right? He created man in his likeness and image. So he set an example for man to mimic, okay? And on the seventh day he rested, and check this out. It says that he blessed the seventh day. The only day out of the 7 days that he blessed. He blessed the seventh day. So there's a blessing on the seventh day, and it says, and he made it holy. You know what holy means? It means set apart. He set it apart, different than all the other 6 days. So he said 6 days, we work, we build, we do things, our living, blah, 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 But seventh day, set apart, holy, different than all the other ones. Okay? And there is a blessing in it. So he put a blessing in that. See, one thing we got to learn is that there's blessings when we find and discover these principles of God and we apply them to our life, right? It's not just one huge thing called the blessing and the only blessing. Like there's gifts of God here. It's like, hey, you know what's hidden here? This treasure. And you know what's over here? This treasure. And what over here? There's another blessing. Because he continues. See, it isn't like religion says, here's the one thing. If you do this, then you're good. But God is relationship. So he's always drawing us near, saying, you want to find something new? Here, come check this out. Here, you want to find something new? Here, come check this out. Here, you want, because he's wanting to walk with you always. Religion says, here's a bunch of rules. Here's a bunch of formulas. Do this, check. the box and you're done. You can feel good about yourself. A relationship is a walk. It's a daily walk with him. And the more we apply and we live his principles in our life, the more blessing we encounter, the more gifts, the more treasures we encounter. Or did you think that it was just like one thing? No. He's a God full of surprises. Good surprises. Prosperity. It's continually prospering. Beloved, I wish, right? 3 John, that you may prosper as your soul prospers. That means that you prosper as a person in your life to the degree that your soul, your mind, your thoughts prospers, grows, learns more, right? About God's principles, his ways, and his will. Amen? Okay, so, and then here's how important it is. So he said, 6 days you work, 1 day you rest. And that day there's a blessing. When you rest, there's a blessing there. And that day should be set apart, should be different than all the other days. Okay? How important it is, because you got to understand, this is the beginning, right? But check this out. In Exodus chapter 20, verse 8, it says, remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. Again, by setting it aside, by making it different. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. Okay, so it is so important to God that a principle that he established in the beginning, he included it in the law. Because we no longer live under the law, but the law is good. Like, there's good stuff in there, right? Don't kill, don't steal, don't take your neighbor's wife. That's good stuff, okay? You got to understand, we don't earn our salvation by fulfilling the law. But the principles in there are still good, okay? Even some of the ways of eating that are in the law, they health-wise make a lot of sense. So it's so important to God that he included it in the law, because he wanted them to be blessed, because he established the principles like, okay, since we're including all the things that are good here, I need you to understand the Sabbath, right? And there's blessing. But we got to understand, it was before the law that God established the Sabbath. Are you with me? You're following? Okay, so this is what it says about it. It says, you shall labor and do your work in 6 days, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor your foreign residents in your town. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, okay, see, here's the example he said, the sea and all that is in them. But he rested on the seventh day. Therefore, the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. He set it apart, okay? So that's how important it was to God that we would understand the power of the Sabbath, of the seventh day, of having 1 day for resting. 1 day set apart for different stuff. For, not how you earn your living, but something else. Now, we live in a culture that works 5 days and rests 2. So you still have 1 extra day to do all your chores in the house and all the things that are still work and that you don't enjoy, laundry and all that stuff, Now, if you're working 6 days, and that's where we're getting to, okay? If you're working 7 days, you're in the red. So let's talk about this, first of all, spiritual rest. If you read Hebrews 4, it talks about the rest that, let's go back 1 slide, Julia, please. That's our point for today. Rest is the key to breakthrough without breaking down. Rest is the key to breakthrough without breakdown, okay? You don't want to have to break down mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually because you're chasing after breakthrough or victory or success, okay? So in the kingdom of God, the way the kingdom of God works is different than the world. The world is work, 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 work. The more you work, the more successful you are. If you can manage not to sleep and be on drugs, then even better. You'll get further ahead, right? The ways of the world is take, hoard, hoard. Don't give anything. The more you do of that, the more you have, right? Principles of the kingdom of heaven are different, right? The more you give, the more you receive. The more you sow, the more abundant harvest you'll have. And the rest. Resting is a principle also that saves us from breaking down on our way to victory, on our way to breakthrough. Are you with me? So, spiritual rest, you can read Hebrews 4 when you go home, because the part of that is that talking about spiritual rest, we are not earning our salvation. Okay, I think we all here know that. Okay, and if you don't, you need to know you cannot earn your salvation. You cannot work hard enough for God to love you and accept you, because He already does. You cannot earn it. You don't deserve it till you give yourself away. Okay, it's done. He loves you. He accepts you. Wait, but I got my life all messed up and not in order. It's like He loves you and He accepts you. See? You go to the shower to get clean. You don't clean yourself up and then get in the shower. You go to Jesus, He straightens you out. You don't get all straightened out and then go to Jesus. That's works. That's law. We're not under that. Okay? You come to Him, He embraces you, and little by little, He'll start working you, transforming you, clean you up. Okay, straighten you up. You just walk with Him. So, in spiritual rest, it means that we need to learn to rest on the complete work of Jesus. He did it, He finished it, and it's done. And we can rest in it, and we can live by the blessing of that completed, finished work the rest of our lives. We learned how to receive, just like we receive salvation by faith, by grace through faith. The same way we receive His promises. We don't have to earn them. We just believe Him. We receive Him. And as we co-labor and walk with Him, we'll see more and more in our lives. So spiritual rest, is about knowing, just like I can't earn God's love, I can't unearn His love. I can't unearn His salvation. I can't unearn His acceptance for me. A lot of people are a little worried sometimes, fear comes in and it's like, and you find yourself spiritually working and trying to, not offend, not do this thing. And it's like, hold on. The work was completed, okay? And spiritual rest comes in knowing that the complete work of Jesus is more than enough. His blood is more than enough, okay? The rest is co-laboring. And you do that from a position of rest, okay? When we are working for spiritual things, and we are not resting in the finished work of Jesus, then we put ourselves right back on the law, and we frustrate the power of grace. Okay? So spiritual rest is that, just knowing He did it, it's done, and it's there for me, okay? And now I don't fix my eyes anymore on trying to please, don't try. Just be a son, be a daughter. And a son and a daughter rest. A servant is always, not that we don't serve God, but the servant mentality or the slave mentality is always trying to did I please you? Did I do this right? Did I do this wrong? Did I mess up here? And a son is just a son. Just walks around, with his shoes off and he's just him, not trying to perform. Okay. So that's spiritual rest, physical and mental rest. That's where we're going to spend most of the time, or the rest of the time this morning. Go with me to Psalms 127 in verse 2. And if you could pull that up in the Passion Translation, Jules, please. Psalms 127, verse 2. So we're talking about rest, spiritual, physical, and mental, okay? All are three parts. We're spirit, soul, and body, okay? So we need to learn how to rest in all those three things. So physical and mental. In Psalm 127, verse 2 in the Passion Translation says, it really is senseless to work so hard from early morning till late at night, toiling to make a living for fear of not having enough. You see that? It's not saying that it's wrong to work hard. It's not saying it's wrong to wake up early and go to bed late at night, okay? But it's saying it's wrong and it's senseless to do it for fear of not having enough. God can provide for His lovers even while they sleep. That is so good, right? Amplified Version says, it is vain for you to rise early, to retire or go to sleep late, to eat the bread of anxious labors. To eat the bread of anxious labors. Like, you can't even enjoy your food because of anxiety and stress and pressure and performance and, you can't even enjoy it. And it says, to eat the bread of anxious labors, for he gives blessings to his beloved even in his sleep. Even in his sleep. Okay, so this is not saying, that you can never stay up too late to finish a project. Okay, it's not saying that you shouldn't wake up early. As a matter of fact, you should wake up early, okay? It doesn't say that there isn't seasons where, you're building something and it's just requiring a lot. Like, there are seasons like that, but you have to know they're only seasons. They cannot become into lifestyles. Just like walking through the valley of the shadow of death, it's not supposed to be a lifestyle. It's supposed to just be walking through it. It's not supposed to be your lifestyle. So yes, there might, no condemnation, of course, like you had to get up, really early and wake up really late and it happened. But if it becomes your lifestyle, that's where you're missing out on a blessing of the Lord. And it cannot become a lifestyle because then you'll start breaking down. Okay? So I'm not saying that you can never stay up late or get up early for work, but what this is saying is acknowledging that if you constantly push God's boundaries for your life, you will miss a blessing. It's like, who wants to miss this blessing? It's like somebody telling you, hey, if you go on vacation, I'll pay you. Like, that's a no-brainer, right? This is what God is saying. Say, if you learn to rest, there's a blessing in there. Because we have this mentality, and the world has driven this mentality in that if we rest or if we go on vacation, we will miss out. We'll miss out on business. We'll miss out on hours. We'll miss out on this and that. And we'll miss out on opportunities. But God's not like that. God's like, no. Listen, I rested 1 day a week. You can rest. And if you rest, I put a blessing in that rest. So instead of missing out and losing, you're going to gain. It's like, well, that sounds like a God deal, right? Those are the God deals. The ones that are too good to be true, but they are true because they're in the Word, they're God deals. They're not good. They're God deals. Only God could do those kinds of things. That's kingdom mentality. I mean, who tells you to bless your enemies? What's your competition? Well, the Lord tells you to bless them because there's a blessing in it for you too. Okay, so let's talk about daily rest. Okay? So far we know, like, Sabbath is 1 day a week, but as you know, there's something called the night, when the sun goes down. And your physical body alone starts getting tired because it produces melatonin, which puts you to sleep. But there is something that breaks down melatonin and wakes you up, and it's called light, which is when the sunlight is up. That's how we know it's time to be up. That's pretty simple, right? But like screens and phone screens and TV screens and all kinds of stuff is also light, and it also breaks down melatonin. So your body can't go to sleep. You're like, I don't know. I was just up, and I stayed up because I didn't feel tired. Sure. What you're doing is you're pushing your body beyond the boundaries that it was set because you're affecting it naturally, physically, right? And you don't feel tired. But guess what? You will feel tired later. Oh, but I'm young and I can do this right now. Sure. But what you don't know is you're taking days from your life from the end. You're borrowing from the end. It's like one of those mortgages, Like, yeah, I'm getting money now. Yeah, it's taking an L from later. So we need daily rest. God created us to have a break in the week and a break in the day. So I'm going to read you a couple of things that daily rest does to us, okay? I mean, you even know, if any of you have ever taken a nap during the day, when you wake up, even if it's a short nap, you feel what? Refreshed, okay? Because the body was made to rest, okay? God didn't need a Sabbath, but he created us to need rest. That's why he set the example for us, okay? So we need rest. Our bodies need rest. And when they don't have that physical daily rest, we could start breaking down in different areas, okay? Daily rest brings physical refreshment, okay? It brings healing and restoration. So your body was created to heal itself. If you didn't know this, now you do. God created your body to heal itself. Okay, when you have a cut, you don't have to, it heals itself, right? Sometimes deep cut, you have to, put some stitches or whatever, but it heals itself. Doesn't it? Well, internally, your body heals itself too. When there's a virus or something coming, your body starts battling it. And when it starts battling it too hard and too strong, that's when you get a fever, right? And your body is telling you, lay down, right? Because we need to do some repairs in here. So the more you rest, your body is healing itself. Okay, so isn't it amazing how God created our bodies? Do you know that while you rest and when you sleep at night, your neurons regenerate? Your brain heals itself. Your mind heals itself. And it creates new cells in your body. Beauty sleep is literal. That's where they got it from. Your beauty sleep, yeah. Because your body regenerates cells, when you're sleeping. You need a good rest. So our body was created to rest and to heal itself. It restores daily, which is why it's not good. Okay, it's not good to eat a big meal right before bed. We've heard that, okay? But it's not good. You know why? Because while you sleep, your body is what? Healing itself, right? It's resting, it's regenerating. So the process of digestion it's a big one. Like it takes a lot, depending what kind of food you ate too, right? Nowadays, we eat food and our bodies are working extra time to break down that stuff, right? And so when you're resting, when you eat, your body starts digesting all the food. So what happens if you eat a big meal right before going to bed? Well, no wonder you wake up tired. Because even though you were asleep, your body was working all night digesting food. So you didn't get the rest that you needed. There's something called intermittent fasting, and it's amazing stuff, And what it does is that you stop eating at 3 p.m., and then you fast until breakfast time, whether that's 5, 6, 7 in the morning, whatever time that is, right? And it heals your body. There's amazing research and story and testimonies, I have to tell you a lot of it, about fasting. Because fasting is giving the body a break from digesting food. So it focuses all its energy in healing your body. Okay? There's stories of people that have healed from cancer, right? Cancer and different kinds of things just by learning how to fast properly. Okay? Why? Because it's rest. Your body is resting. So when you eat a big meal right before bed, it's not good for you because your body's working all night. You wake up tired and then you start your day off again. So you should learn, if possible, to give about 3-4 hours from your last meal before you go to bed to let your body digest so that you actually get the rest that your body needs. See, God created us this way. See how spiritual principles transcend into the natural, into like real practical things? See, a lot of people would, or religiosity would focus on the Sabbath and like keeping the Sabbath. And which day is the Sabbath? No, it's Saturday. No, it's Sunday. No, it's this day. No, it's that day. You don't keep the Sabbath. There's a curse. But when we understand what God really meant, when we understand what God really meant and how our bodies were designed, it doesn't become religion. It becomes like, wow, God, you're really amazing. Like you're really looking out for me because you know how you created me. Mental restoration happens when we rest, okay, during our sleep. It promotes creativity. You're a thinking being. You think all day long. When you wake up, you're thinking you never stop thinking. When men say, when you ask a man, what are you thinking? And they say nothing, it's not true. They're thinking about the question that you just asked them. Like, why is she asking me what I'm thinking? We're always thinking. We're thinking beings, right? Our thoughts are always going. And we're going to talk about that in a few weeks. It's so powerful. But at night, we are also thinking. But it's a different kind of thinking. It's a non-conscious, it's a subconscious thinking that is happening at night. So during the day, you're thinking about a million different things, studying, this, business, whatever, okay, relationships, everything that's happening in your life. But at night, you give place for your thoughts to enter into the REM process. When you're in your REM, your rapid eye movement sleep, that's when your thoughts are being sorted, okay? That's why you can go to bed at night like with a big problem, and in the morning, you figure out a solution. Because at night, your thoughts are being sorted. And it's happening while you're sleeping. We just read in Psalms that He blesses us when we sleep. In our sleep, He is working. In our rest, He is working. When we learn to rest in Him, He is working in our behalf. When we worship Him with rest, that's why worship is so important. And I tell you guys all the time, like, leave your burdens, to Him. Like, cast your burdens and your cares to Him, because then you can worship Him from a place of rest. And it's the most powerful thing you can do, because He's working in your behalf. While you rest and while you worship Him with no cares, He's working for you. So the same thing when you sleep. You have this huge problem and it's eating you up. And you're like, I can't go to bed till I solve this. But you know what? You need to recognize it's time to sleep. And it's time to let God do what only He can do. And when you go to sleep, you might wake up with the answer in the morning. Because you're honoring God in that rest, and you're saying, all right, God, this day's over. I got to give this to you. You do what you can do, but God does the impossible. So at night, our thoughts are being sorted. And in the morning, even if you're studying all night, rest sometimes it's the best thing you can do. I remember when I went to the mission field, I was 18 years old. Good friends of mine told me, they were youth pastors at a different church, and they said to me, listen, when you go on the mission field, you're going to be exhausted sometimes, because I was the crusade director. I was doing those, like what Jerry showed us last week. That's what I was doing. And he said, you're going to be exhausted sometimes. And he said, and you might think like, oh, I have to read my Bible and just be spiritual like that. He said, sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is take a nap. Take a nap, because, and I'm going to get to this in just a moment, okay? Rest is an oasis on our journey, okay? We talk about the race of life. We're running a race of life. But in that race, it's a different race, because remember, Robbie Evans told us, it's not about getting there first. It's just about getting there. Which puts a lot of rest in you, when you don't have to get there first. The race that God called us to run, it's not about getting there first, it's just about getting there. And guess what? The people that don't know it's not about getting there first, they live their lives exhausted, spiritually exhausted, mentally exhausted. Because there's this sense of competition, and there's no competition. The victor's already won. There's no competition. Jesus already won. So our race is just to get there. And if you don't learn how to rest, you're going to break down on the way there. And God doesn't want you to break down on the way there. So rest is an oasis. It's a race where you stop every day and sleep for, 6, 7, 8 hours. It's a race where you stop once a week from doing your common daily activities and chores and the things that you do for living. You stop those things. to enjoy the fruit of your labor, to enjoy the blessings of the Lord, to worship God, to thank Him. And when you rest, you will be happier, stronger, more prosperous, and you will live longer. That's the reason why so many people don't live very long anymore. Because they don't know how to rest. Like, great, I'm a millionaire by 38 years old. Yeah, and he had a heart attack at 40. Matthew 2:27. So that's a daily rest, okay? So get a good sleep tonight, will you? And if you cannot sleep, then figure out what's going on. Pray about it. Get some help. But get good sleep. You need your sleep. Otherwise, you become vulnerable to the attacks of the enemy in your mind, your soul, your body, your spirit, your emotions. Okay? Weekly rest, the Sabbath rest, is a gift of God. See, this is a gift of God. God gave us a gift. He said, hey, listen, there's a lot of work and a lot of stuff to do. But one day a week, you stop. Completely stop. And this is my gift to you. Okay? And we choose to receive it or not. It could be any day, but work 6 and rest 1. It doesn't matter which day it is. I'll tell you that. It doesn't matter which day it is, and this is why. Mark 2:27, I'm going to read you the New Living Translation. In Mark 2:27 and 28, says, then Jesus said to them, the Sabbath was made to meet the needs of people. Say, I need Sabbath. Okay? Say, I need rest. For those that can say Sabbath. Okay? Like, that sounds weird. Okay, you need rest, right? Sabbath was made to meet your need and not the people to meet the requirements of the Sabbath. Okay? So it was made for you, not for you to stress about it. Which day is it? Did I do it? Oh my gosh, we messed it up. Curse is coming. Oh, no, calm down. Jesus is clearly telling us right here, it was made for you because you need it. Okay? So don't be stressed out about, the requirements of the law and the Sabbath and did I do it right? Did I not do it right? Did I do it on the right day of the week? Okay, listen. It's about you work 6, rest 1. Okay? You're awake for 16, 17 hours of the day. You sleep the rest. 7, 8, whatever. You with me? It's a lifestyle. Okay? And there is a blessing in it. And there's a reason why. Okay, so Jesus said to them, the Sabbath was made to meet the needs of people and not people to meet the requirements of the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even over the Sabbath. So the Sabbath is yours. It's for you. It's your gift. Okay? God's not going to go, wait. That's not how you use your gift. No, that wrong day, wrong way. No, what? You fed your dog? You done. No. Okay? It's for you. And there's a blessing in it. There's a blessing spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. The Bible tells us that we need to learn to enjoy the fruit of our labor. If you're not enjoying it, you need a change. You need an adjustment. If it's just a season, then recognize the season and define the season. But it cannot be a lifestyle. So we're constantly in spiritual rest because we rest in Him, okay? Which brings us to trust. Yes, I always bring it back to that. It's all about a relationship of trust with Him, okay? Tithing, offerings, it's about a relationship with Him. It's about trust in Him. Saying, you are Lord, I worship you. This is your principle you established. And it makes no sense to the world, but I believe it because I trust you. I trust you don't want to take from me. You want to increase me. And if there's no actions to my faith, then I don't really believe it. If I can't let go of business, of work for one day, it means I only trust myself. Ooh. God is saying, hey, you give this one day, and during this one day, I'm going to pour out more blessing in your life than you could do in that one day by striving and working. The Sabbath isn't the prize that you earn if you finished everything on your checklist, on your tasks. Okay? It's a spiritual principle set by God. It's an act of worship to acknowledge Him. This is what it means. No regular work. Take a break from the things that you do to earn your living and a day to enjoy the blessings He's given you. It's not that complicated. So, do we trust Him? You know, Bill Johnson said the other day at the pastor's gathering, he said, I never went home after work having accomplished everything on my list. It's impossible. There's always, I mean, I understand there's priorities and things that need to be done, but there's always something else that will need to be done. There's always more work. There's always more stuff to do. You know, I could tell you, I would live here, you know, because there's always more things to do. There's always, you know, a new thing, the next thing, and there's always work. So are we going to choose to trust Him? And I know like this message could seem like, for some people be like, oh yeah, you know, you see people that are like not even working, right? You're like, yeah, that message isn't for them. Well, you know, the thing is, that's the other side of the message. You know, it's like, you work 6 days and you work hard. You're called to work. You're called to what? To tend the garden, to produce, to be fruitful, to multiply. Not just having kids, but like, you know, with stuff, right? I've done both, you know. But you see what I mean? Like, rest is one side, but work is the other side. We partner with God. We're co-laborers with Jesus. It's like He's with you every day, you know, doing things. And then at the end of that week, He's like, all right, you know, let's take a day. Just enjoy. And I'm going to bless everything you did. It's almost as if that day blesses, redeems, and multiplies everything you did on the previous 6. You know, when you work out, your muscles need rest too. So I just signed up for a gym. You can ask me next week how many times I worked out. I do that so that I put myself out there. Now I have to do it. But see, when you go and work out, you can't, like, think about it this way. You know, who could just work out 17 hours a day and lift weights? You couldn't do that, right? Your muscles need rest, and it's in the rest that they get strengthened and they grow. If your physical body was created that way, what makes you think that your life shouldn't be lived that way? Right? You need a day to process. You need a day to rest. You need a day to enjoy. And let me tell you something. What you do on the Sabbath, what you do on your day of rest, it could be different for all of us. It's what energizes you. You know, it doesn't mean like, oh, it's the Sabbath, can't answer the door. Don't move, honey. It's like, no, it's not like that. It's like if you work a job during the week and it's like always busy and calls and computers and stuff, and then on your Sabbath you want to do gardening and that refreshes you and that's like brings you joy, that's okay, right? Because remember, it's ceasing from the other activities. It's holy, which means set apart. It's different. Are you learning something this morning? So close your eyes. I want to ask you something. What are you going to do? Because if you don't use it, you lose it. And you don't want to lose a gift when God is telling you, go on vacation, you know. Guys, we need to learn to rest in him. So many times we're so worried and preoccupied in our minds, and we eat the bread of anxiety. You cannot enjoy your food. And God's saying, will you trust me? Will you trust me? I will take care of you. I will bless you. Rest in me. Let's walk together. Let's do this thing together. So I ask you today, what are you going to do? What do you need to change or adjust? Sabbath, the day of rest, has a spiritual benefit. We're saying, God, I give up control. So this morning, if that's you, just tell him the same stuff. Say, God, I give up control. I trust you. Continue to work things out in my behalf. And I take this whole day to thank you and enjoy your blessing in my life. I trust you completely. I don't have to make things happen because you are my provider. And all good things come from you. So I make room for you to move. I make room for your blessing. I make room for you to refresh me in my thoughts, in my mind, in my creativity, God. For you to give me new ideas. Sometimes we're so busy, we don't have time, and we don't make time for God to speak to us with the things that will profit a whole lot more because we're focused on the very little things and we can't stop running. But when we make time for him to speak, that's when you trust him. That's when those amazing, life-changing ideas come. When you don't take a Sabbath, when you don't take a day of rest, creativity is quenched. Creativity is completely smashed and it has no room for creativity. And our God is the creator. We're made in his likeness and image. He made us creative. And if we don't rest, if we don't sleep good, if we don't make time to enjoy these things and God to speak to us, we're going to miss out on God's creativity in our lives.